All right. Our next story that we're going to get into, folks being too old to serve in Congress. Right here, this story comes from NBC News. This is actually kind of a rehash story. This came out earlier this year, I want to say. I think it was earlier this year, and it seems to be kind of making the rounds more as we're getting closer to election season. But this is from NBC News. It says North Dakota voters pass measure to impose age limits on congressional candidates. Maybe the story I saw in February was more about they were wanting to do this. And I guess now it says they passed the measures. It is believed to be the first in the nation measure imposing age limits on candidates seeking federal office. So we're going to read through this a little bit, then kind of break it down, consider some thoughts, and see where we go from there. But let's see. Voters in North Dakota on Tuesday backed a state constitutional amendment that would impose an age restriction on congressional candidates. The new measure bans people from running for a House or Senate seat in North Dakota if that person could attain 81 years of age by December 31st of the year immediately preceding the end of the term. It's very specific. Oddly specific, actually. 61% of voters on Tuesday approved the measure, while 39% opposed it. It is believed to be the first in the nation measure imposing age limits on candidates running for federal office, but it's also expected to be challenged in court. The measure, which doesn't affect any of the current federal office holders from North Dakota, comes as voters voice concerns about the ages of President Joe Biden, who is 81, again, oddly specific, who is 81, and former President Donald Trump, who is turning 78 this week, as they each vie for another term as president. There are currently 3 senators over 80. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senators Chuck Grassley of Ohio and Bernie Sanders of Vermont. There are at least 10 members of Congress over 80, including former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and former Whip Steny Hoyer. Republican Senator Kevin Cramer, who is seeking his second full Senate term and won an unopposed primary in North Dakota on Tuesday, said he opposes the measure and believes that voters should get to vote for whoever they want, regardless of age. To limit those decisions arbitrarily just doesn't make sense to me, Cramer told the Associated Press. So I have my thoughts, right? So we have a minimum age to run for certain seats. To run for president, you got to be 35. To drive a car, you have to be, to get your license, I'm pretty sure in all states it's 16. To drink is 21. I mean, we have minimum ages as a form of requirement for stuff. I don't know of anything we really have maximum age for. Be it driving or voting or owning a firearm or anything else. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, really. I mean, I'd love a conversation on that. I'd love to see what everyone is going back and forth on, to see all the different points. It was really awesome. Again, I mentioned this before, but being on the live stream on Third Railify's channel, I want to say, Sean was hosting us. It was me and Sean, and then we had Robert from the Washcast was on there. And it was really cool because we were talking about something. I can't remember what it was now. It'll probably come to me in a second. And actually, probably not, because my brain ain't working. But we were talking about something amongst each other in the stream. And we had several people in the chat that were contributing to the conversation. And we were all going back and forth. And we kind of went from over here to over here, back to kind of over here, in what we were agreeing on. Because as more people got in the conversation, more different sides were being brought up, points of perspective and perception and all kinds of stuff. And it really painted a bigger picture, and it allowed us to have a more in-depth conversation. And that is where, to me, the diversity kicks in. When not just diversity in skin color or sexual orientation, but legit diversity. Older, younger, black, white, gay, straight, Jew, Muslim, Christian, atheist, rich, poor, whatever, diversity across the board, not diversity as they want to push it. They want to push a very specific form of diversity, which is more about exclusion than inclusion, but that's a whole different topic. But my point is that we had a really, really good conversation. And when you do that and you start looking at things from a different perspective and start listening to other people, I think that's when we really find strength and really come to terms with where we should probably meet as far as like compromise and whatnot. And for those that are willing to be wrong and willing to have their minds changed, conversations are great. I'm always willing to be wrong. I love in the comments when you guys come in and you tell me off about, your actor that you like that I put down, or, Jon Stewart. I've dogged Jon Stewart a little bit while at the same time also praising him for certain things. Jimmy Kimmel's another one. You guys have come in on Saturday Night Live and you guys criticize me, and that's fine. If it's constructive criticism, I greatly appreciate it. If it's not, it's still engagement, and I'll engage with you as long as you're going to engage with me and be respectful. I'm all about it. But when you guys come in the comments and you are giving me constructive criticism, or you are sending me notes, or you are giving me feedback, I appreciate it, because I'm not right on everything. And to further that, one thing that I always want to be big on, and I did learn this from Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder, is he puts all the stuff in the show notes, all his links, sources, and everything. And I do the same thing. I'm very, very open about that. I'm very transparent about that. I don't try to hide anything. I don't try to twist anything, manipulate anything. And you can always go behind me and check and make sure I didn't leave something out that needed to be put in, and I didn't take something out of context. It's very possible that it will happen, but you are able to call me out on it. So please do the research yourself, and look this stuff up. Don't just take people's word for it, whether it be mine or NBC's or CNN's or whomever's. Everyone's going to put their own spin and their own bias on it. Everyone. So, go out there and check it out yourself. Anyways, back to this. The minimum wage exists for stuff. Should the maximum wage exist? I don't really know. Again, I would love a more in-depth conversation in it, but here's where I feel like I agree with the Republican Senator Kevin Cramer here that opposed this measure and said, let the voters vote who they want to. While I do like the idea a little bit, much like term limits, by the way, I'm all about term limits. That right there, I absolutely believe in. But at the same time, even that kind of lumps into what I'm about to say. And that is, we, as the voters, we hold that power already. If we don't want people that are too old to be in office, we just don't vote for them. Boom. If we don't want somebody serving more than 2 or 3 or 4 terms, we just don't vote for them. Boom. And like he said, if they're not on the ballot, if they're not eligible to run, we do shortchange ourselves with our options. It's like free market. I believe the more options, the better. I don't think someone that is so old and out of touch should be in office, because how closely relatable are they to their constituents, really? I'll get into that in just a second. But that being said, I would much rather the voters make that decision and say, okay, we're going to vote for somebody else, than there be law that says this person just cannot run. Because as we know, just because somebody can drive at 16 or can drink at 21 doesn't mean they should. Because 16-year-olds can act more mature than folks in Congress, and 16-year-olds can act like big old babies. I mean, again, look at Congress. Look at the ones that act like children. Like that cat fight we had just a couple of weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? So age is kind of important for us to like legally draw lines for what is and is not permissible at certain points in our life, but it doesn't dictate someone's state of cognitivity. Is that a real word? Cognitivity? It doesn't necessarily, dictate whether someone's there or not, basically. And I think when we look at, for those of you that watch this, and I hope differently minded people do watch this show, but for those of you that watch this, I think it's very telling when you look at Trump and Biden, who are 2 or 3 years apart in age, One seems to be completely gone, while the other one is lively and playing around and joking and doesn't have to have a teleprompter to read off of to roll for 2 or 3 hours. Whereas the other guy can't squeak out a few sentences without a teleprompter and still screws them up. And you guys know who I'm talking about. So yeah, so whether it's age or, term limits by voting the same people in or whatever, we ultimately have control of that already. I mean, I'm not a big fan that we got somebody in Congress that's been there since Nixon resigned. You feel me? My criteria when deciding who to vote for in local elections, some of my criteria anyway, is how old are they? If they're too old, they're too removed from my struggles and the struggles of up and coming individuals and families that are out there trying to get their lives started. I mean, seriously, like what does a house cost today? What is payroll like today? What are salaries like today? What is the, average grocery store pricing? Now that can be affected by someone who's older in age, someone who has more money and hasn't had to live in that kind of bubble like most of us do, and they're removed from that. And I want people that are very much in tune to the people that they are representing. That's just, again, how I vote. What is their age? I take that into consideration. What is their platform? Have they served in any other way, be it military, be it in a business, be it at a board of some sort, be it in the community, charity work, whatever it may be. Are they successful right now? And that is a pretty telling one. Now, success looks like different things for different people. If they are, is it because they are a hard worker and earn everything they have, or they exploit and take advantage of other people's to get where they are, or do they just plain inherit their wealth? Or even like AOC, do they have a normal job that they enjoy and they are successful at? I got no problem with a bartender or waitress or whatever she was, serving in Congress. Zero problem at all. I think she's an idiot, but that doesn't mean everyone who has that kind of job is and should be disqualified. Just like one of our guys in Georgia, I think is David Perdue. Yes, it was David Perdue was our senator at one point in time, and I didn't like him, and he was a Republican, and I think Trump supported him in one of his runoffs or whatever. And one of the things he said is if you didn't have a college degree, you pretty much shouldn't be running for, Congress in any way. And I thought that was incredibly stupid thing to say. I know people that don't have college degrees that are significantly more capable of life than people that do have college degrees. It's just a piece of paper to do a very specific thing, to steer you in the direction or qualify you to do a very specific thing. I mean, I grew up around a bunch of rednecks. I know folks, I'm not making fun of my dad. I mean, my dad can't half talk or spell certain words, but I tell you what, you pull your car up and something's broken, he can fix it. Washing machine, dishwasher, he can fix it. You know what I'm saying? Any work that you need done, he can pretty much figure it out because he's got that know-how. And I know a lot of people like that. Folks that have farms, that work on tractors, all this stuff. They don't have college degrees, but at the end of the day, we rely on these people to run the country more than we do people with degrees, in my humble yet accurate opinion. I love the Panderverse episode of South Park where the handymen were the big ballers. I dug that because that's how it's going to be if things start collapsing around here. So I disagree 100% with what David Perdue said about having to have a college degree. I think it's stupid. I think it's quite snobbish, and I think he's very far removed from the people he's supposed to be representing when he says something like that. Lastly, to kind of get out of here, before I hop out of the segment, I do want to give a plug to a good friend's show. I mentioned him already a couple of times, but I'm going to go ahead and mention a specific show that he's got coming up now. Robert over at the Washcast. Now, he streams live to Rumble and Twitter, or X, for those that call it that. And he's got an incredible show coming up Tuesday, June 18th, Tuesday, June 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. He will be hosting former Congressman George Santos. Now, love him or hate him, it's going to be a good show. I know there's a lot of he deserved what he got. He didn't deserve what he got. He's hilarious to listen to. I can't stand the guy. Whatever. Everybody's got their opinions on him. But here's and I don't mean this offensively to Robert, but much like myself, even though, you know, he's, I think, bigger. I mean, we're small creators. We're small news sources, YouTubers, rumblers, whatever you want to call us. And he's got a congressman or a former congressman coming on to talk. And they're going to really be able to bust through some barriers and have some really great conversations that I don't think other people can have necessarily. And that is another one of those kind of diversity benefits that there is a time and a reason and a purpose where it does come in handy. And I think Robert's going to do an amazing job speaking with former Congressman George Santos. I can't wait to check it out. I'll be in the chat hanging out, probably throwing some little quips out there every now and then that he hopefully won't read while he's interviewing George. But if you guys are there, you know, hit me up, holler at me. I'll be in there for sure on Rumble. But it's going to be a great show. Go check him out. I will leave links in the show notes below to his Twitter, X, whatever, and his Rumble. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. I actually covered a little bit on the Republicans being divided because of the George Santos thing. I think he's hilarious. I think it was great to hear him throwing people under the bus, but also wasn't the biggest fan of his just call them lies. You know, what, you know, the story that I understand, the way that I understand the truth to be is that there was a lot of lying there. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't necessarily know if that qualified or rightly qualified to get him kicked out, but I understand wanting to be of character and value and reverence and whatnot in that role, and not wanting somebody to tank the punch, so to speak. But everyone else gets away with it in different ways. So anyways, I want to hear what he has to say. I want to hear what he talks about. And again, in the interview that I saw him in already, he was throwing people under the bus, spilling the tea, whatever. It was great. And I hope he does that with Robert. So again, I know I'll keep harping on that, but definitely tune in. This is another opportunity for you to hear a politician speak in a way you probably don't normally get to hear a politician speak on a platform they normally don't get to actually go on and get their voice heard on, because they got to worship and pray to the altar gods of, you know, big media and whatnot. But that's that, y'all. While I got you, I have not talked about this in a while, I don't think, and I'd like to go ahead and bust it back out just to let you know. Coffee Brand Coffee's got some new flavors coming out, and they got some great deals on coffee. You know, I love them. Absolutely love them. Big fan of Coffee Brand Coffee. If you're sick of all the gimmicky companies, like we were just talking about, all these pandering to this and pandering to that, these guys don't pander. There's no gimmicks. They just make good coffee. Just make good coffee. The fulfillment and roasting facilities are located right here in the United States. Each purchase is hand roasted to order. That means they wait until they receive your order before they fire up the roaster. And then lastly, like I said, it's just delicious. Whether it's coffee, tea, or cocoa, flavored snacks, whatever. They got all kinds of stuff. Go check them out. If nothing else, go check them out. There is a link in the show notes below that is an affiliate link of mine. It helps the channel out if you go there and do some shopping and use that link. And then if you want an extra 5% off of whatever pricing, use promo code MAYHEM, MAYHEM, right there, MAYHEM. It's going to get you an extra 5% off. And if they do have a better deal running, you'll get the maximum deal by using that link below, because you'll get a little extra bonus in there, a little extra of incentives to help a brother out too. So, hey guys, go check them out for the best coffee, tea, and cocoa. As I say that right? Yeah, coffee, tea, and cocoa online. Check out coffeebrandcoffee.com and make sure you use promo code MAYHEM at checkout.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.